Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to this evening's program. We're going to continue our conversation about the Quran and just talk about how beneficial it is to you in your everyday life. Before that, we give thanks and praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to come into your homes to bring you messages of hope, happiness, peace, love and well-being, and that we may remind you of the favours that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed on you, and that you may be grateful for all that you have in your life. As you know, this program is dedicated to exploring the spiritual and the symbolic language of the Quran. The Quran that I use is the Allama Abdullah Yusuf Ali version that's been translated from Arabic to English. If what I quote does not match up exactly with the version of the Quran that you have, it may be that you have got a different edition. And the Quran that I use is the Yusuf Ali translation of the glorious Quran. I know it's in Old English, but I feel as though it keeps its beautiful poetry. And, we're going to continue our conversation regarding how the Quran can transform your life and why the Quran is here. It serves an invaluable source of information that you're not going to find anywhere, and its verses are there for a specific reason, and that is to help you grow in awareness of the hereafter, and that it is a real place, and that when we pass away from this world, we go somewhere. Death is not the end of our physical existence, as it were, or spiritual existence. There is an afterlife, and if you do a little bit of research for yourself, there are so many people talking about the afterlife, believing in the afterlife, and you could ask yourself, what is it about such a belief that keeps people continually believing? Well, if you think about it, your memory, there is something in your ability to recall your memory. And it's through memory recall that you are able to get a feeling, get some kind of connection to the hereafter, that spiritual connection. It's like a spiritual link. And, even though you may not be able to exactly put your finger on what it is that gives you that awareness, there is something there that exists, that is beyond the 5 physical senses of your body. And so this is what we're going to kind of talk about today, our relationship and our connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is it that gives us that connection? Well, it comes down to some kind of memory recall that we have that gives us that awareness. And this awareness that we have of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a gift to us, because have you ever met somebody who has no awareness? They don't believe in anything. They just think to themselves, well, or they may even tell you, when you're dead, you're dead. I mean, what is it about those people who cannot grasp that there is something greater than themselves and the 5 physical senses? That is something that's there. And those people who are aware of it, Well, this is when you've got to recognize that that awareness, even though it's just a tiny little awareness that you may have, it's still some kind of awareness that allows you to keep hold of that inner belief that truly connects you and makes you aware that there is a hereafter. And you could say it's from some kind of memory recall. Now, how does that work? You could ask yourself. Well, we are spiritual beings, and we were alive before we came to this physical reality. And you'll find verses in the Quran that tell you that we were sent forth to this world from the hereafter. And if you read the story, for example, in Adam and Eve, I've quoted the verses before, but I'm just kind of talking to you in general terms now. And if you've listened to my programs before, you'll have heard me giving those verses. I will see if I can find them, during the commercial break and read them over the air. But there's a verse that says, "Get ye down, all ye people, on earth will be your dwelling place." That means, as spirits, we existed before we came to this world. And also, just a point of call on that, the way the verse explains that it says, "Get ye down, all ye people, on earth will be your dwelling place," it means that there were more than two people who were sent to this physical world. It means there were a whole load of people. And then, there's other verses that talk about with enmity between yourselves. So there were more than two people actually sent to this world. So the story of Adam and Eve, it's a kind of intricate story in a sense that it's a spiritual event. But sometimes spiritual events are so enormous in some respects. To make it simpler, it's put into what is known as a simple story, but the symbolic understandings behind the relationship to that story. And we miss those symbolic understandings because we haven't been taught about this other symbolic language that exists, that has been encoded into the verses of the Quran to give us a different understanding. And so when we think about the story of Adam and Eve, and when you look at the actual wording in the translated version of the Quran, in say the Yusuf Ali translated version, it will say, "Get ye down, all ye people, on earth will be your dwelling place," which is telling you that there were more than one person sent to this world. So what happens when we come to this world? Well, our memories of the hereafter are kind of, I won't say wiped totally clean, because as you learn, as you live your life, as you start to raise your consciousness and ascend, little bits of inspiration finds its way into your life. And what does this inspiration do? Now, the word inspiration has appeared 45 times in the Quran. And so inspiration is that knowledge that exists outside of the five physical senses. Now, we live our lives according to what we can touch, taste, smell, hear and see. And those are our basic five physical senses that we use in this world to navigate and when we interact with the things of this world. But what about those thoughts and those ideas that exist outside of you? Now you know the darkness will whisper suggestions into your soul, into your mind, to lead you astray. But don't forget, you also have angels, the two guardian angels who watch over you. They will also suggest to you ideas to help you on your pathway, to be a guide on your pathway. So this should be telling you that not all the thoughts that you think come from yourself. Some of your thoughts are either from the darkness of your soul or the light of your soul. And you yourself will know the difference, because you will listen to those thoughts and you'll go, well, that's not a very good idea. And when you turn away from those thoughts, the light of your soul wins a great battle within yourself. And then those who listen to the light of their soul, that is the advice usually from their angels. They will suggest something to you as inspiration. So you know that you receive information from somewhere that exists outside of your five physical senses, outside of your brain, as it were. And don't forget, you know as well that the angels are closer to you than your jugular vein. That's how close the hereafter is to us. And so, all our thoughts that we think are not from ourselves. They come to us as inspiration. And it's those ideas that we have that guide us on our pathway, or they lead us astray. So we've got to stop thinking that all the thoughts we have that enter our brains are because of our own cleverness. We're not that smart. Even some of the greatest of scientists in this world who so-called invented things, they listened to their own inner self. Or things happened by, let's say, accident. Let's just use that word, accident. For example, the person who what's that? Is it penicillin? I think they created. Well, they were doing some experiments, and what they did is they left the, what's that thing? When you look under a microscope, the slide. You put something on a slide, you slide it under the microscope, and you look at it. Well, when they were doing one experiment, the scientist, whoever it was, I can't remember who, but I just remember the basics of the story. But what they did is they were doing the experiment, and they took it off the slide, they put it over on the fire. Now that glass, the fire heated that glass up to a certain little temperature, or made it a little bit warmer because of the conditions. And then when he put the slide back under the microscope, that's when he realized that there was what something had changed. And then he put it down to the fact that he had by all accounts, it was a mistake. He put it on top of the fire heated the slide up. When he looked at it again, there was something there that created, I think it was penicillin or something like that. But you could say that was an accident, or was it inspiration? And as you know, there's no such thing as an accident when you start to look at things in a more spiritual way. But unbeknown to that person, to them, they looked at it. Oh, well, I accidentally did this, and this happened, and I found a cure for something. Or he created penicillin or something like that. So things happen, and even our thoughts, not every thought comes from ourselves. I think even Einstein used to spend moments of reflection where he picked up some of his ideas So those ideas will have been sent to him as inspiration to help him understand whatever it is that he was working on. Inspiration is something that has not stopped coming to us. Even in your daily life, you are inspired every day, all the time. Because not a second goes by when you're not open to spiritual wisdom and inspiration. And that little thought that advises you sometimes in your mind to say, well, you don't really want to be doing that, or go ahead and do that. Or there's the other side where it tells you to do it and you know within your own heart you shouldn't be doing that. So inspiration is something that's taking place right now. And inspiration is something that we use or we can hold on to, and it's like that guiding hand of wisdom that comes into our life to help us on our journey. And inspiration is an amazing thing, and it solves so many problems if only we would pay a little bit more attention and follow its wisdom. So, pay attention to what is taking place within yourself. Look within yourself and listen to your own self and follow your own, there's that saying, follow your heart. Believe in yourself and follow the wisdom that comes into your mind and helps you on your everyday journey. Because that wisdom is like, it's your guidance through this world, helping you to reach out and be inspired. And that guidance is there for a reason. And that guidance will help you in so many things that are happening in your life. So it's always worth paying attention to those little moments in your life that are passing by. And instead of turning away, focus on what that advice is telling you, because that guidance is sent to you by your guardian angels who watch over you. And that's what your guardian angel's task is. They will not tell you what you must do. However, they will suggest to you. Just like in the Quran, it tells you that they will suggest. I think it's in Surah 13, verse 11, where it says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change the conditions of a people until they change it themselves with their own soul. And then it goes on to you. The angels descend from time to time, I think it is, and they will suggest something to you. They will never tell you what to do, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us free will. And it's through free will that we are able to make our own decisions and come up struggling for ourselves on our journey. And it's not an external struggle. It's not a struggle, just like some people, they think life is all about social status and climbing up the ladder through work, as it were. Well, what about climbing up and coming up struggling for yourself on the spiritual journey? That journey that raises your consciousness to another level. And by reading the Quran, you'll find that wisdom within your own self. And just by paying attention to the wisdom of the Quran, you'll find some amazing answers that you can, or verses that will really help you on your inner journey and your external journey as well. Because when matters arise concerning your life or somebody else's life, you'll be able to recall certain verses to give you an understanding, to help you on your journey through this world. And the more you use the wisdom of the Quran, the more you read the Quran, the greater will its wisdom implant itself within you. And it's all a matter of, or let's say, as you begin to accept that wisdom as truth, it builds that bridge within you between you and the hereafter. And you start to have more of a belief, not only in yourself, but also in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that there is a hereafter. And so, work on yourself. Work in a way that allows you to develop a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by reading and reflecting on the Quran and the stories within the Quran, you can gain a deeper understanding of God's attributes and develop a sense of awe and reverence towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this will help you to unlock your memory of when you lived before you came to this world. Because within your soul, there will be the memory of your life before you came to this world. But because we have to pay back certain debts just to life itself, you could say these are karmic debts, or the things that our own hands have sent forth, because there are certain spiritual laws that are guiding us, we have certain things that we need to pay back. So our memory of the hereafter is temporarily, what's the best word to use? It's temporarily suspended, let's say. And so we can't always remember some of the things that we've done that causes us to have our memory of the hereafter removed from our consciousnesses. But by raising your consciousnesses through inspiration, you will reconnect to a higher wisdom that brings into your awareness the real truth about your existence, and the real truth that the hereafter is a real place. It's not a myth, it's not a fantasy, it's not a tale of the ancients, but it is a real place. And as you go through this world, as you open yourself up to the inspiration that is sent to you, that will reveal to you some amazing things that will help you on your journey. That will help you to you'll be helped to raise your consciousness to a degree of awareness through which you will be able to recall your previous existence before you came to this world. But there's one thing I haven't really gone into, and that is a conversation about, let's say, the easiest word everybody knows is karma. Now, karma is one of those words, the same wording can be found in the other verses of the Quran, where it says, what your own hands have sent forth, you will reap what your own hands have sent forth. verses like that. It's all saying basically the same thing, that whatever you do, there will be an account held against you, and you must repay back that which you have done. And even within the Quran, it tells you about every feeling within your heart will be inquired into on the day of account. So when you have your life's review, when you are called to account for the life you have just lived, you will have a life's review. Now, we are coming up for a quick advert, and after the advert we'll continue our conversation regarding our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because I do want to come back to that. I've just kind of strayed a little bit, but we will get on to finishing this conversation off just after this quick commercial break that's coming up in just a few seconds time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. You are listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford, and I'm your host Asif Sabah, live in the studio. And today we're just talking about the Quran and a few other things. And you know, the Quran is an amazing book, especially for those who are seeking a really deep understanding of spirituality in general, because there are little verses, there are snippets of wisdom in there that take you on an inner journey, and that journey is connected to you developing a much more deeper relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you can gain that deeper relationship by not paying too much attention to the external world, but going within yourself, listening to your own inner self, and those thoughts that come to you as inspiration are not all ideas in your own head because of your own cleverness. That is inspiration coming from an external force, from the hereafter, into your mind as guidance. And the two beings or guardian angels that are watching over you have been especially assigned to you to help you grow and develop on your pathway back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is important that you start to pay more attention to the inspiration. And you know, I was talking a little bit about, you know, even these amazing people who are scientists, you know, they also would take a moment out of whatever it is they're doing and reflect upon what is going on within their own minds. And this is when they would discover little bits of information that would help them to open up what they believe they discovered, but they are also being guided themselves. And so it's those moments where you know when you're on your right pathway, whatever your pathway is, you know, you get that feeling, and it's like 100% feeling, yes, you should do this, and because and you do it. It's not like an angry feeling that you should do it, because that is coming from somewhere else, but it's a loving feeling. You know, say for example, you're going for a job interview, you're doing something else, and you just sail through the process, and you know, you think, how did I do that? You know, that you really know that what you've just done was exceptional. And you know, usually you don't do things to that level, but on this particular occasion, you went in, you aced it. It could be your exams you're preparing for, and you go in, and all the questions, you just see the whole answer laid out in front of you, and you think, oh my God, because all the thoughts in your mind are exactly what, you needed to hear. And so you sit your exams, you go for an interview, whatever it is you're doing, all of a sudden, all the things fall into place. Now, some people call this synchronicity, where everything just flows and it's like you're on a roll. It's like you're in a zone, and it's just like the gates of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have opened, and it's just like you go sailing through. And you think, how did that happen? What just happened? But that is because you're on your pathway, the pathway that you were meant to walk, and and you are being divinely guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's behind you, giving you that additional push, taking you to where He wants you to be. And this is the beauty of inspiration. That's why it's there, to help you on your pathway. That is why the word inspiration is mentioned 45 times in the Quran, to get you to pay attention. Start using it in your life. Start listening to that little voice of wisdom that is giving you that guidance, because that is coming from your guardian angels to help you in whatever situation you're doing. I mean, it doesn't have to be your exams. It doesn't have to be a job interview. It could be anything that you're doing. It's a matter of listening to that inspiration and following it and letting it be your guide. Because when you turn away from that inspiration, that is like you're turning your back on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the gift of inspiration that He's sending you to guide you on your pathway. And that is, when you start looking and understanding things in this way, and it's like you're starting to pay attention to the guidance you're actually receiving, that guidance you should be listening to, that guidance to help you on your journey. And it's so amazing. It will just come in, and you'll think to yourself, what just happened? Because it's like all the pieces just fell into place, and it's like where you thought there would be great difficulties, it just opened up and you just walked through like anything. I just can't think of a word to say there, but you know that feeling, because it happens to us all at some point in our lives. I mean, just think back to a time where you sat there and you think, I can't believe it. I mean, the obvious ones is, we've all maybe at some point taken an exam and we think, my, how did I do that? You felt so happy, you felt so confident, it was just right, you aced all the questions, and you didn't have a bigger problem than what your mind was telling you. It's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was behind you, giving you that inspiration, helping you on your journey. And that is the hand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to you. He holds out His hand and He pulls you along. Make sure that you get to where you want to be. And it's Allah guiding you. And all that is through inspiration. And it's through that divine connection that, you become aware that Allah is there. And imagine if you didn't have that divine connection, you weren't aware that you had this deeper connection. That is a beautiful gift to you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because there are a lot of people who don't have that inner connection, and they believe that when you're dead, and that's it, end of story. So that is something you need to think about. This gift, this connection, this awareness that you have is definitely a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as you live your life, it does lead to a much more loving connection, and the thoughts that you have in relation to this gift of life or gift of awareness that you have, well, that is special. That is special because it allows you to have a different set of thoughts within your mind. Now, if you weren't aware, it's like if you never loved, then how would you know what's within the expression of love? And I'm talking about a pure love. When you think, or if you manifest the expression of love within yourself, just fill yourself with love right now and think, what does love mean to me? And all the questions that arise within your mind regarding the word love is because you've connected to that loving experience, that loving expression, and what comes forth is everything contained within love. It's just like if you think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then all the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should come gushing forth. Because everything is contained within Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the expression of love brings forth into your mind all the possibilities of divine love and what that divine love means to you. And so when you think, if you didn't have that awareness of the hereafter, imagine trying to live your life believing and thinking to yourself, well, when I'm dead, that's it. Nothing. I'm just gone. But because you have that divine connection of awareness, it doesn't stop at such a saying. You go on. You live after the death of the physical body because you have that inner awareness, that memory recall. Something within you alerts you to the fact that there is something after the physical reality has run its course. And that gives you hope. It gives you a release. It gives you a relief as well from thinking, that's it once you've lived your life. So having this connection, developing this relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a gift to you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if you didn't have it, you would be amongst those who don't believe. And your life wouldn't be the same. So having this awareness, it is through that connection that you can develop a deeper relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A relationship that really makes you feel connected, really makes you feel like there's so much more to life. So pay attention to those little thoughts that you have within your mind. Open your awareness. And when you pray, just spend a little bit of extra time, say in meditation, or the Islamic term for meditation is muraqabah. Just spend a little bit of time within yourself, listening to that inspiration, saying your prayer, but going within and finding the answer to whatever it is that you want in your life. Because life is amazing. And there is so much more to you than your physical brain is revealing to you. You know, the irregularities of this world, they don't want you to know that there is something greater than they can supply you with. That there is this higher consciousness, that there is this higher awareness. Why? Because they lose their control over you. Because you have a different mindset. You have a different mentality. And so the darkness, it doesn't want you to think beyond what it tells you is the truth. Because you lose, they lose that control over you. And as you open yourself up, as you start to believe, as your awareness opens to the inspiration that comes to you, you develop that deeper connection. And it is so profound. The experience of that connection, it takes away beliefs. It takes away unbelief, should I say, and gives you a belief. And it's through that belief your whole mindset changes. You live your life not as a doubter, but somebody who knows. And all you have to do is listen to the inspiration that comes into your mind and let it be your guide. And you can tell the difference between what is real inspiration and what is from the darkness of your soul. You will be aware of the difference because inspiration will come to you with love. It will come to you with love. And it will guide you in a way that takes away doubt. And you will feel good about the direction your life is taking you. And you'll feel inspired. It's got a whole different feeling about it when it's coming from the light and your guardian angels. It's got a whole different feeling. It's not based on negativity and your negative emotions. But it comes in a way that you know it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is there to guide you on your pathway. And as you begin to develop this relationship between yourself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't forget, everybody receives inspiration because everybody has two guardian angels, no matter which religion they follow. Every single person on this planet has two guardian angels. Even the animals will have their own guardian angels watching over them. So because everybody has got these guardian angels, now your guardian angels have been specifically assigned to you. They aren't just random. They knew you before you came to this world. As we started this program off talking about how we were alive before we came to this world. And I did say I would see if I could find the verses, but sometimes I just get talking, but you'll have to just, read the Qurans for yourself. I use the Allama Abdullah Yusuf Ali translation, or for short, it's Yusuf Ali. When you read the Quran and you start seeing connecting the verses, like the verse that tells you, it mentions in the story of Adam and Eve, how we were in heaven and we were sent to this world where it says, "Get ye down, all ye people, on earth will be your dwelling place." But our memory of the hereafter is kind of disconnected when we come here. And the reason why the Quran also talks about how each soul must come up struggling for itself is to let you know that you have to make that journey. It is a journey where you have to raise yourself up. And what is this journey? Well, between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and man, or man and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are 70,000 veils of light. Now, we may be right on the lower levels of the light, and each degree of light, each veil of light, is like a degree of consciousness. And so we start at the bottom, and we have to work on our development, work on ourselves to consciously. And don't forget, this is all about a conscious awareness. It's not about a physical awareness. This is a conscious connection. So we have to start to raise our consciousnesses through these degrees of consciousness, through these degrees of heaven, to a station above where we are at present residing within. And you'll know, looking at the wisdom of the Quran, it talks about the station of Abraham, for example. And in it is the city of Baca. So, there's little things like that. Those little verses, you have to pay attention, because it's explaining such a profound story, a profound piece of wisdom. And it's just letting you know that when the Quran talks about how each soul must come up struggling for itself, it's letting you know that you have to raise your consciousness through these degrees of awareness to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when the Quran is talking about rivers flowing beneath your feet, just think about that for a second. Just think about it. If you raise your consciousness, and there are 70,000 veils of light, so say you start at consciousness 10. You came here, you were born into the base matter that you know, and that base matter was at level 10 consciously. So you came down to earth from the hereafter, landed in level 10. On your journey, you ascend to level 20, as an example. And so, when you pass away from this world, what's happened? You have raised your consciousness to level 20, so everything below level 20 is like a degree of awareness, a river flowing beneath your feet, as the Quran terms it. Now that river is a degree of consciousness through which you have risen or raised yourself as you come up struggling for yourself. So that river flowing beneath your feet are all the conscious levels that you have gained during this incarnation. And so that means, there are so many amazing bits of wisdom. And when you start to read the Quran and understand that life is a spiritual journey, a conscious journey. It's not about how much money you have in the bank. Is it that your conscious awareness has lost its awareness? And so you've substituted the need to make money instead of having a conscious connection? And, it's like you've turned away. Let your life be a journey of conscious awareness rather than an awareness of status in this world. Be on that journey, the journey that raises your consciousness, because the Quran is an amazing book, yet it's treated like, okay, it's the Quran. You know, it's got wisdom in there that will enhance your understanding and help you in such a profound way. And you know this journey in this physical reality is but a small moment in time. But just bear it with patience. Bear it with understanding. And you will find your way. And as you come up struggling for yourself, as you learn to raise your consciousness, as you live your life and come up struggling for yourself, you will find that there's so much beauty in the wisdom of the Quran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. You are listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford, and I'm your host Asif Saba in the studio, and we're just talking about the Quran and inspiration and developing that closer relationship. But I think sometimes we forget it's a conscious relationship that we need to be developing between ourselves and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because everything starts from within ourselves. Everything is connected to our conscious reality, and we shouldn't be too focused on what is going on in the external world, because when we focus on the external world too much, we lose track of our conscious connection. And it's easy to do that because of the thoughts that will manifest within our soul regarding the external world and the activities and the things that are taking place. So this is why it's always good to read the Quran, to remind you and to keep open that doorway between ourselves and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because once that connection between ourselves and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happens, if we are disconnected in some crazy way, then it is so hard to re-establish that connection. It's like it loses and it goes, and we think, how can we get that connection back? The only way to get that connection back is by listening to the inspiration that comes into you, that advises you, because this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sending you that inspiration to get you to consciously reconnect yourself. And you'll only do it through listening and taking the advice from those words of wisdom that come to your mind, that you know are true to your inner self. And as you develop that conscious connection through your own awareness, you will then be led to a greater feeling. And then it's through that feeling of love, trust and truth that you can re-evaluate everything that this world has taught you, and then reconnect yourself and re-establish that divine connection between yourself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's where the connection is. And it is a conscious connection. It's not a connection to the external world. You should be turning within yourself, because it's through your own inner conscious awareness that you really experience that divine inner connection. And it's a beautiful connection when you allow it to happen. And there will be times when you will feel as though you are cut off from this connection. But you can re-establish it just by remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And life is about enhancing that connection. And I know just before the break we were talking about, say you were born into this world, you hit level 10, but through your life in the world you managed to raise yourself up to level 20. Well, when the Quran talks about rivers flowing beneath your feet, this is because you've stayed true to yourself, you've established that connection. It's through that connection you have raised your consciousness, because don't forget, between man and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there are 70,000 veils of light, and I know I keep reminding you of this, but as you learn to understand the verses, when the Quran talks about certain things, you'll be able to use that wisdom to say, okay, this is how it fits in. And when the Quran talks about the rivers that are flowing beneath your feet, it's because you are living up here, and all those levels that you have consciously come up and ascended, because your soul has come up struggling for itself and achieved that higher degree of consciousness, then that means that, the verses that talk about rivers flowing beneath your feet, you'll be able to identify and say, yes, I understand that now. When the Quran is talking about these rivers beneath your feet, it's because you are living up here and everything below you is that which you have consciously transcended. And it's not about how much memory how much you can hold in your memory. This is about the expression of love. Some people have great memories. I have a terrible memory, to be honest. I have to make notes, and I understand certain things, but I do have to make notes. My memory is awful, but it's not that I don't have a very good memory. But it's just who I am. But other people have better memories.